Welcome to Bookworthy. Today we're talking with author and speaker April Graney. Her latest book, If Jesus Came to My School, is a whimsical tale of a young girl who imagines what it would be like if Jesus visited her school as a child. What would a day with Jesus be like at school? Through rhyming texts and vibrant illustrations, children will be inspired to make a difference at their schools through their actions, because as they treat each other right in the classroom and become families, Jesus truly will be with them in their school. Welcome to Bookworthy, April.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure. Okay, we're going to start with an easy question. Okay. Well, it's a random question, but I think it's easy. We'll find out.
Okay.
All right. Well, our random question of the week is, what celebrity do most people say you look like?
What celebrity? So,
not which one you want to look like, but yeah.
Yeah, right. Yes, there's plenty that I would want to look like. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And at the moment, all of their names are fleeing my mind. But my son recently told me that I look a little bit like Reese Witherspoon. So I will take that gladly.
Yes.
Probably for the blonde I have right now and the short haircut. Hey, Reese is amazing and beautiful and talented. So I'll take it.
Your son's trying to stay on your good side, it seems.
Yes, he is. Yeah. Brownie points. He knows his mom well.
And well, April, tell us a little bit about your book, If Jesus Came to My School.
Yeah. So If Jesus Came to My School, as you said before, is a little girl imagining what it would be like if Jesus came to school with her for a day and met all of her classmates and her teacher, and just how that would be the best day of their lives. But then Jesus, as they're playing on the playground, Jesus recognizes that there's Emily and she's sitting alone and she sits with a frown. And so he goes over to chat with her and asks her, "Are you okay?" First just talk to her, and then invites her to join in the group. And they go through the rest of the day, and Jesus helps the kids who maybe aren't treating each other right, helps them to get along. And, I just imagined as I was writing it, what would Jesus say to bullies? How would he stand up to them? Right? He wouldn't let them treat kids the wrong way. And just thanks the teacher for all of her hard work, appreciates the teachers who are making a difference in the world. And then she realizes at the end, hey, I know that Jesus can't come to school with me, but I can be like Jesus. It's a better plan. He wants to live through me. He wants to live through all of his children. And so I can, look out for kids like Emily and help kids get along, and just the class could have the light and love of Jesus through her impact and her influence. So that's the gist of it.
I love that story for this is for ages, that 4 to 8 range, or, kindergarten, first grade, in preschool a little bit. And just as they're walking into new environments, to new situations, to be like that ultimate question from the 90s, what would Jesus do, And, just really putting it in a way that young kids can understand and to see in the situations around them. Because, Jesus, he was radical in many instances, but he was always loving. And I think that, a lot of my kids, bullying started in 3rd grade. And I'm just how did bullying start so young? And it's important for us to have those deep and hard conversations with our kids at an early age. Now, what do you want kids to walk away with this book?
So I'm a middle school English teacher at a school for kids at risk. And so it's a boarding home for kids, a children's home. And so every day when I walk in the classroom and I show up for school, I see the impact that how kids treat each other has on each other. And I see kids who have experienced a lot of trauma. And, sometimes as a result of trauma, their behaviors aren't the most full, and they may not have the most, be the easiest kids to love. And yet I know without a shadow of a doubt that God created each one of them, that they're made in his image, that they're deserving of love and kindness. And so for me as a teacher, I want to show them that grace and love and kindness that Jesus would. And so my hope for these kids, I really want to support families who are putting their kids in school. And sometimes that's a scary thing to do as a parent. I remember we homeschooled for many, many years, and I loved homeschooling. And then we ended up putting our kids in public school. And I remember that first day dropping them off, how hard that was, and how afraid and nervous I was. They were, especially my one daughter. She was like, are the kids going to like me? That was her biggest fear. I dropped them off and I went straight to Moms in Prayer meeting. Thank the Lord that it was that day and I was able to go and just pray for them and cry through the prayer time, using scripture to pray for your kids. And so I want to support families who are taking that brave step and putting their kids in school, and so that their kids will know that Jesus is with them throughout the day, that we don't see him with our eyes, but Jesus loves us and he's by our side. He knows everyone that we're interacting with. He knows who our teacher is. He knows what we're doing throughout the day. And he wants to love through our kids. I just want to lay the foundation in our kids' hearts that I can be salt and light in my school. There may be some kids in my classroom who don't know Jesus, who don't know God, and I have the opportunity to show them God's love. And, I just respect so many families I've known who have, bravely done this and put their kids in school and seen their kids be salt and light, and sometimes in a dark place, and make an impact. So yeah, just hoping this book can lay that foundation for our kids' lives, even when they're younger, starting when they're young, and as they grow up. I just see that light burning brighter and brighter, getting bigger for Jesus. The more they come to understand who he is and the world around them, just hoping to make an impact in our schools.
I love that. I'm a public school mom. It's been a journey of faith with my kids in public school. And it has been through seasons of bullying, seasons of, dark seasons. It's been that you might be the only Jesus that this person ever meets. And it's been just kind of that challenge I put to my kids, just that, we represent something bigger than ourselves because we say this about who we are. We say we are a Christian, we're a follower of Christ. And are we going to do it perfectly? No. But thankfully there's grace and, but we can respond in a godly fashion even when we do make mistakes. And I love that your book is going to be a tool for public school and even preschools, just to remind kids that they can be that salt and light in whatever situation they're put in. Because there have been seems to be a lot more material, a lot more books that are provided for homeschooling families in recent years. And it has been hard for me as a public school parent to be like, all right, what are my tools to equip my kids in the choice that we've made? We made it as a family to be a light in a dark place, and it's been both good and challenging and faith building for each of my kids and even for me as well. So I love that you're doing that with this book. Now, when did your writing journey begin, April?
Okay, so my mom passed down to me, I don't know, years ago, 10, 15 years ago, my baby book and all of the things that she had saved. And I found in there something that I must have written it around first grade. And it was a picture book. It was God made flowers, God made trees, God made you, and God made me, and I had illustrated it. And I don't remember creating that book, but I was so excited to find it. So I was like, that seed was planted, like the Lord planted that seed in my heart as a child to write. And I always did want to be an author. Like I thought, oh, that'd be so cool to go in a bookstore and see my name on a book and have a book published. And I always thought it would be a book for moms, like a parenting book or something. We have 5 kids. And so I thought, oh, I'll write something for moms. And then the Lord gave me this, picture book story. And it was like, I love this. The Lord just surprised me with that being my first book. And I'm just so thankful. And I don't know if I'll ever transition to any other type of writing because I love picture books so much.
There is a joy and a love that comes with picture books, whether you write them or read them. There's something that kind of taps into that inner child and speaks to your heart a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know, stronger for some reason. I always say that you're never too old for a picture book, and because they do such a great job of communicating big truths in really small ways and edible ways.
Right. And that's how, it's great that as a parent, I got to read my kids stories, story after story, picture book after picture book. And I love as an adult, like that's probably my love for picture books grew even stronger, when I became a mom and I was reading these stories and I would think, oh, I wish I had written that. It's so good.
I kind of had the same experience in my own parenting. Is like I've always loved books, but was it when I started reading, I had my first son, and he got read to even when he was like itty bitty. It's like we're gonna start this reading thing really young, but it's just one of those like there was a season where I was reading through was it a Bible, some sort of Bible something. It was like a devotional of some kind, but those simple truths were what my adult new mom heart needed to hear. But it was able to be in that early mother season where you're just so sleep deprived and still figuring all the things out. It was just sweet little truths that I was able to grab onto and process when nothing much else was processing.
Sometimes the children's Bible is the only Bible reading I got done.
Yeah.
For little, I just need a good children's Bible, and that's my devotions for the day, and I do it with the kids.
Definitely, there's no harm in that being the devotion of the day for certain.
Yep, for those seasons, for sure.
Well, what is one of your favorite books, April?
Okay, so I could not narrow it down, Valerie.
I know. It's a tricky question.
That's a hard question. So I did break it into seasons. I hope that's okay. So I was thinking about as a like middle school, early teenager, early high school, the Narnia series. I mean, Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. My grandfather introduced me to those books. He let me borrow them at their house when we were there for a holiday, and those were my absolute favorites growing up. And then as a young mom, let me go back real quick to college. The most impactful book for me as a person, I'm a doer and I like to, I want to accomplish things and get these goals and try to meet them, was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Had a whole class on that. And so just beginning with the end in mind, and those principles from the 7 Habits book have been life-changing. And I teach that in my middle school life skills class now. So I get to review it every year. So it's great for me. But then as an adult and as a mom, the most impactful books that I have read have all been missionary stories. So we loved reading the hero tales for kids. There's a Christian Heroes Then and Now that's all about different missionaries. They have audio series that we would listen to. But then my favorite, it may be out of print, I don't know, Missionary Stories with the Millers. I just love hearing stories of people who took leaps of faith to go and do something crazy that God was calling them to do, that other people couldn't believe that they were doing, and God walked them through that and, went before them in that. And so this is probably my favorite book right now. I read it to my middle schoolers each fall or every other year, try to hit that one. So it's probably my favorite book right now.
That's a great collection of books for certain. And I love that the 7 Habits of Very Effective People. That's a great book for middle schoolers just to kind of get a grasp on how do I do anything. Because we all have to figure it out, but to have kind of wish I read that in middle school kind of thing. I was like, that would have been helpful. But that's really neat. I love missionary stories that kind of, in our American culture, we can kind of, dumb down God a little bit and not see him as prevalent. But with missionary stories and people that take those big leaps of faith, it's right in front of their faces. And it's so sweet when their stories are communicated because we get to see how real and active God is and we don't always see it in our first world problems, type of thing. And so it's really neat to walk through and to encourage kids to read as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So what is your favorite children's book other than your own?
Okay. Okay. So my favorite, I think it's probably my favorite children's book of all time, is called The Seven Silly Eaters by, I meant to write down the name, Hoberman, Mary Ann Hoberman or Sue Ann Hoberman. I should know the first name. You want to look it up, Caleb? But Seven Silly Eaters is about this mom who has 7 kids and they all will only eat one thing, and just how frustrated and annoyed she gets. And it has to be the perfect temperature and the perfect, amount and fixed a certain way and served a certain way. And then in the end, all her 7 kids, it's her birthday, and they each want to fix their own dish for the mom, and it all ends up in one big pot, and it makes this birthday cake for mom. When they wake up in the morning, they've thrown it in the oven and kind of given up, and they wake up in the morning, it's this birthday cake for mom. And it's written in rhyme and meter. It's so beautiful. And every time I had 5 kids, and so I was looking for a story that kind of I could relate to as a mom, that, it's hard having 5 kids and they all want different things. And, you fix a meal and there's always one that, I don't like this, and so I just related to it as a mom, and I just appreciated it so much as the poetry and the way it's written. And I wish I had written this. So that's probably my favorite children's book of all time. I do also really like the very best Christmas pageant ever. That one as well. The alliteration in there, the hyperbole, the metaphors, and everything is just beautiful.
That was definitely a fun one. We kind of discovered that only a couple of years ago, and it's kind of become something we read on a yearly basis because it is just so engaging and fun. We were really excited when the movie came out too this last year. And so it's just a fun, again, like a missionary story in a sense. The unexpected hints of Christmas throughout that is really fun. Yeah. Very cool. And I can definitely, relate to
the 7 silly eaters.
The 7 silly eaters, because I got 3 silly eaters, and usually I'm sitting down to make my meal plan for the week. I'm like, okay, let's at least have one meal one person likes, and then maybe one meal that mom and dad like. And so can't make everybody happy, but at least there's food on the table.
Yes, for sure.
Too fun. Well, April, what can we expect next from you?
Well, I honestly don't know what the Lord has in store for a future book. I do have some manuscripts that are kind of in the works, and we'll see what the Lord does. Just really focusing on right now to encourage families whose kids are in school. And I have written a 10-day devotional for families called Sharing Jesus at School, and it's available on my website for download for free. So really just doing things like this, talking to people and sharing resources. I did want to mention to you, Valerie, you were talking about support as a public school mom. I have discovered so many great organizations that support moms. Of course, Moms in Prayer International is an incredible one, with moms groups praying, over their schools and their kids in school. But Gateways to Better Education has all kinds of resources on the freedoms that parents and teachers and students have in their schools. Decision Point is another one that is equipping kids with resources to start Bible clubs and to have gospel sharing events in their schools. Christian Educators, Teach for the Heart is another organization for Christian teachers that I just have fallen in love with. And I'm on all their lists now, and I'm getting all of their resources. And then my goal is to just dish it out, keep sharing all of the things that they're creating. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, but they're creating all these resources. And I'm, just want to link to them and share them and just really try to help families with kids in school. Yeah.
I love that. It is definitely a mission field of its own. Letting your heart walk into a public school. Like I call my kids a little piece of my heart walking around on the outside. And so it is neat. We need all the support we can get.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, April, where can people find out more about you and your books?
Sure. They can look at my website, which is aprilgraney.com, April, Graney. marvelousmudhouse.com, but it's also onehappyhouse.org. So the last line of my first book, The Marvelous Mud House, we are the one happy house in that book at the very end. It turns from a hungry house to a happy house. And so onehappyhouse.org, they can look there. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. I think I'm the only April Graney in the world. I don't find any others there, so pretty easy to find as well there.
And we'll be sure to have those links in the description box too, so listeners can find you easily. Thank you so much for joining me today, April.
Thank you, Valerie. Appreciate it. Great talking.
Great talking with you too. And thank you for joining April and me on this episode of the Bookworthy Podcast. Check the show notes for any books or links that we discussed, and let us know in the comments what celebrity do most people say you look like. Be sure to like and subscribe so we can discover more great books together. Happy reading!